gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 3rd, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. Presented today by GameTime.co, your source for all your ticket purchases for sporting events, theater events, concert events, any event out there. GameTime.co will find you the best deals on seats, no matter how late you're buying your tickets. We'll talk a little bit more about Game Time later in the show, but make sure that if you need tickets for an event, that you put GameTime.co at the forefront of your mind. And you get their app, too. It makes it even easier. But anyway, Matt, I thought I would start here with the news of the day being the latest product of your work in the lab. You know, I love your work in the lab, very well documented over a course of several weeks now. But today's work from the lab takes a look at the Georgia Tech defense. I'm trying to think how to put this nicely. They're not real good. How about that? Well, let's just say they're not real good, okay? And there should be a lot of opportunities for the Miami offense this Saturday night at Hard Rock Stadium. Big moment. I don't know what's bigger, Matt, the game or the fact that Jeremiah Smith is visiting for the game. You know, I mean, what a night it would be to put on a real offensive show.
Look, first let's start at the beginning here. The bye week, you know, Miami used it to get better, and Matt Shodell used it to get better, because Matt Shodell wasn't in the lab for football. He was in the lab for something else, because I was in Hudson Valley, New York, and there's a weed farm up there that's run by Eric Williams and his wife. And, you know, you have to stop by when the former NBA, I think it was the 14th overall pick, is running a weed farm. I mean, if you're up in that area, you just have to go. And I didn't go for the weed. You know, I'm sure most people look at me and think,
we got a weed company that just did a sponsorship deal with us. They are going to be making their appearance on the website pretty soon.
I'm not talking about the stuff that kills grass. I'm talking about a different kind of weed than you are, Gary. Yeah. But anyway,
no, we're talking the same weed.
I know.
I mean, we're keeping up with the times, man. These people are going to come on. They're going to offer specials. They sell gummies. They make all kinds of stuff. I think people are going to like them.
So I talked to Eric Williams for a while, and he went to Providence. You know, he grew 6 inches in high school, or he never would have even been playing basketball. He said he grew up in the projects playing baseball, and that all his friends would make fun of him for wearing a baseball uniform, you know, because they all played football and basketball. And he grew 6 inches in high school. That's the only reason he became a basketball player. He wasn't on the AAU circuit. He wasn't with any of this stuff. And the reason I mention that is because recruiting nowadays, it used to be you'd wait till someone's senior year, especially in the offensive line, because some of these guys, they make massive jumps between their junior and senior years. And their senior seasons, they look like a different player. And it seems like those guys have disappeared. You know, if you're not a 4 or 5 star by your junior year, you know, really by your freshman year in some cases, like nobody even looks at you anymore. Like the old days are gone. But yeah. So look, I did the weed farm with some of my friends. Yes, I have a couple of friends. Hill Rock Whiskey Distillery was great. You know, I was driving, so a bunch of people, so they all did the tasting while I watched. It looked delicious. However, I was, but they do give tours. They explain how you make whiskey, and how you make whiskey is the same way you make a football team. You start with basic ingredients, which in this case is top recruits, transfer portal guys. You put them in like some sort of weird ice machine. It's not an ice machine, but they keep it low humidity, really cold, like a cold room. You get these guys, you got to put them through the process, right? It's a whole, basically football players are whiskey. You put them through this giant process. And when I tell you this process is insane for whiskey, it's really complicated and it's really hard work. And these guys are like on it 24/7. I asked one of the owners, I said, are there emergencies? And he's like, when isn't there an emergency? The equipment's always breaking down, or you got to fix this or change this balance or something. Like, there's always something to adjust. So like whiskey and football, I basically was in the lab at the weed farm and the whiskey distillery. I should have written a column about that, because Miami's football team, they should take their team on the bye week up to Hudson Valley and take him to the weed farm and take him to the whiskey distillery and let them see that their process isn't that different than making, not Miami players, but other players' favorite recreational activity, and maybe some of these players' favorite drinks. I don't know.
I don't think Mario would go for any of that.
Listen, the football players, not all of them, but some of them have never seen sort of a different side of life like this. A giant open, basically a farm. It's just farmland up there. It's acres and acres, And I would imagine most of these players haven't gone to a distillery before and see the work that goes into that. Like, to see a different way of life, because I've never seen either of those things. I've never seen acres of marijuana plants. I'd never been to a whiskey distillery, okay? I've been to breweries. I've been, on tours of breweries, but never a whiskey distillery. And I'm telling you, I think that football players, for coaches, they do this team building stuff. I think that Miami football coaches should fly all these guys up in the offseason for a week, just in farmland and just in these other aspects of life, because it really gives you an appreciation of the hard work that goes into the things that you don't even think about. You buy a bottle of whiskey or bourbon, you don't think about it was in a barrel for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. It had to be monitored constantly, and then even after that, the different combinations and mixtures of this and that, and where the barrels come from, and it's like, it's really interesting. I mean, I'm sure people who watch the show want to talk about football, but like, I would encourage everybody to look at things outside of football that you've never seen before, right? So I will tell you something else I've never seen before. When I broke down the Georgia Tech tape of the game against Bowling Green, there's one play, and you can look at it in today's defensive non-highlights from Georgia Tech. There was literally, I think it was 7 guys at the snap that were past the line of scrimmage. In other words, basically trying to attack the quarterback or do something in the backfield, right? They weren't in coverage. They were coming. 6 of them were just standing there after a play action fake, literally just standing there watching, standing still. One guy kept rushing the quarterback. The others just stood there wondering what's going to happen. Where's the play going to go? Like, there were fans that were moving more than the players on this one play. And it was the most embarrassing defensive play I've ever broken down or I've ever seen. So I would encourage everyone to watch that, because that's what Miami's facing this year. This Saturday in Georgia Tech. And there's a reason Georgia Tech changed who's calling the plays on defense, because it was pathetic. What I saw against Bowling Green from this Georgia Tech defense, I mean, I wouldn't have just changed the coordinator. I would have changed the whole defense. Like, every backup, in basketball, like, and Coach K didn't like what the starters were doing. He'd pull out all 5 of them against Miami, right? You remember those days? Not just against Miami, but against other teams too. Like, I would have replaced the whole defense. I would have said, you're all backups now, because there was zero effort from the starters on defense. And, notwithstanding this new coordinator, who's really the linebackers coach, who's co-coordinator, notwithstanding him somehow doing something insanely different, Miami's going to score 60 points. Like, there's a reason Miami's a 21-point favorite against a Georgia Tech team that actually has a halfway decent passing offense, Like, Georgia Tech's going to score, in my opinion, 21-plus points, but I don't see how Georgia Tech's going to hold Miami to below 50. I really don't. I mean, this is probably the worst defense outside of Bethune-Cookman that Miami's going to face all year, just from what I saw. Now, the caveat to that is, were the Yellow Jackets embarrassed sufficiently to where they're actually going to try? Because if the defense tries on Georgia Tech, if they actually just try to do something, even if they're running in the wrong direction, at least they're running, right? They were just standing there a lot of last game. If they actually try, they may be able to do some things if Miami's not on its game. And if I'm Miami's offensive coordinator, Shannon Dawson, not Lance Guidry. See, the bye week screwed me up. If I'm Shannon Dawson, I do not let Miami's players even watch the Bowling Green tape. Like, it's disappeared from your iPads, guys. I don't know what happened. One of the IT guys screwed up. The Bowling Green tape's not there, but you know what? The other 3 games are there. Watch the other 3 games. Because if that Miami offensive unit watches that Bowling Green defensive tape, they're just going to be like, this is just a joke. Like, why are we even working so hard this week? It's nonsense. That's how bad they were. Now, the prior 3 games, Georgia Tech wasn't good on defense, but they weren't as bad as they laid down against Bowling Green. So, so anyway, we broke that down this morning. Yesterday morning, we didn't have a show. But yesterday we broke down a different aspect, which was obviously the Georgia Tech passing attack. They do not have a good running game, but they have a Haynes King who can throw the ball a little bit, can run the ball a little bit, can do just enough where if Miami's secondary is not on point, Miami could have a problem. And I asked Lance Guidry yesterday at the press conference. I asked, I can't remember the exact wording. I said to him, your secondary sucks. Comment, please. Oh no, wait, that's not how I phrased it. I phrased it, you guys don't rank real high in passing yards allowed per game. However, you've only given up 3 passing touchdowns. You have 4 interceptions. What do you think of your pass defense? To which he responded, the only stat that he looks at is pass efficiency defense, which basically tabulates passing yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, interceptions. NFL passer rating is taken into account, things like that. And Miami, I think, is 28th or something like that in the nation in that category. Which is great. But what Lance Guidry didn't say, and which I will say because I'm back in my reality mode, is 3 of the 4 teams Miami's played have been just awful offensive teams. So that skews things a little bit, right? Texas A&M was the one pretty good offensive team Miami's faced. I would say really good offense, in my opinion. But Texas A&M did have more passing yards in that game against Miami than they averaged on the season, which is whatever. Lance Guidry's point is, if we're stopping the run game, they're going to get pass yards. Like, that's literally what he said to us. He said, if we stop the run, they're going to get passing yards. Of course they're going to get passing yards. I didn't bother to tell him, some great defenses in the past, didn't allow runs and didn't allow passes. That's a great championship defense, right? You can't do either. Just like on offense, you want to be able to run and pass, right? Right, Lance? Shannon Dawson's not saying we just want to be great at one. The other one, if we're great at one, the other one, whatever.
But he's not coming out and agreeing with you that their pass defense has been pretty average this year, but it has been.
He didn't. He said he's happy with their pass defense. He's happy with the pass efficiency defense.
He's got to say that.
Yeah, but what he doesn't have to say is, if you stop the run, of course you're going to give up a lot of passing yards. He literally said that. He said, if you try to stop the run, of course you're going to give up a lot of passing yards. He literally said that, which I personally disagree with. If that's his philosophy, I'm not thrilled. Hopefully it was just a talking point because he probably visited Eric Williams' farm over the break too, and he was just very relaxed and mellow and laid back and not really worried about what he was saying. I'm guessing that was the case. No, I'm not. I'm not guessing that. I don't want to get sued for slander. Just to be clear, Lance Guidry does not smoke the fuddy-duddy.
Well,
as far as
this Georgia Tech defense is number 112 in the country in total defense. They're horrendous stopping the run. You could pass against them too. They're number 103 in the nation in scoring defense. I agree with you. Miami will get in the 40s this weekend. They might get in the 50s, and it's going to be just what the doctor ordered for the reasons that I said earlier. Top receiver in the country, Jeremiah Smith, Miami Chaminade, will be at this game in the Miami recruits section. And another guy that's going to be in the game also, that's going to be at the game also, is Nikar from Georgia, the wide receiver that we've been writing about, that was committed to Georgia. Now he's open. He has told us that Miami is leading. He is coming down as well. So you Canes fans out there, you're going to want to make sure that you bring all your friends to the game. You're going to want a good crowd, a good environment. It's Miami Knights jerseys. It's a Saturday night game. Hopefully the 305 and 954 and 561 turn out in good numbers this weekend, get a decent crowd in there at Hard Rock, put on a good show, help them recruit. This could be a big weekend for Miami, and then it would set up an even bigger one the following weekend, a likely primetime game against North Carolina. Would be 2 undefeated teams meeting each other. Would be absolutely huge for this program to be back on that type of stage again with the primetime game on ABC. So one thing at a time, but some good things to possibly look forward to with being able to make a favorable recruiting impression this weekend, and then catapulting a victory on Saturday to an even bigger national championship appearance the following week. So anyway, Georgia Tech, it would be disappointing if the Hurricanes are not able to put up a very, very, very impressive victory.
I mean,
This
they're
weekend.
not gonna lose to this team. If they lose to this team, it would be beyond shocking. Like, I'd be more shocked about this than the Middle Tennessee loss. I mean, it would be the most complete turnaround off a bye week that we've ever seen, and we've seen some really horrendous play by Miami and other coaches off a bye week. But yeah, there's I can't imagine a scenario where they lose to this team.
Well, one of the things I really like, and the Georgia Tech offense is not inept. They can do some things. They've put up some decent numbers in a lot of their games this year. So it's not going to be just a lay down and steamroll over these guys. They will put up some resistance, particularly with what they're able to do on the offensive side of the ball. But like I said, Miami should do extremely well. And one of the things I like, Matt, you talked about the bye week, and sometimes teams can fall asleep, let's be honest, during bye weeks, and they come out of them very sluggish. Mario Cristobal, I like the way he approached this last one. He challenged guys. He had a lot of competition. He gave an opportunity to guys that weren't maybe playing so much, that were on the cusp of breaking through for more playing time, a chance to earn it. And they've got about 5 or 6 guys. He won't tell us who all of them are, but he's got about a half a dozen guys that he is accelerating this weekend into greater playing time. I mean, we got some clues. Matthew McCoy on the offensive line, Riley Williams at tight end, on the defensive line, Thomas Gore, Jacob Lichtenstein, Jaden Wayne, Harrison Hunt. Those guys' roles are being accelerated a little bit. The coach even made a little bit of noise that Trevante Citizen might make an appearance at some point this season. That was exciting to hear. And then a big deal for the offense is that Elijah Arroyo looks ready to come off of the injury list this weekend. Matt, we have not seen a lot of the tight end in the offense this year. Arroyo coming back, providing that type of threat down the middle of the field, and all the things that he's able to do can only make this offense significantly better, in my opinion.
I mean, I tend to agree. I like Arroyo a lot, but the other stuff, the other guys, I mean, it's just lip service. Mario's whole thing is he wants competition in practice, right? That's his big thing. And to me, the biggest reward, a lot of these guys that you mentioned before, Elijah Arroyo, the biggest reward they're going to get is being mentioned in the press conference. Because in a close game against a top team, none of those guys are going to be difference makers above the players ahead of them on the depth chart. Like, it's nice that Mario mentioned them and, hey, they work so hard. Yeah, there's 8 guys who are going to now be playing a lot more, It's not true. It's about as true as Mario saying something about an injured player, And, it actually was very nice. I'll give a shout out to Mario. I will thank Mario because I asked him at the press conference, I said, and I didn't actually expect an answer. I said, listen, in his opening statement, he said there's 8 players who have going to have accelerated roles. I said something.
Jaden Harris is another one. Ryan Rodriguez.
Well, Jaden Harris has started the last 2 games, whatever. Yeah. Cam Kinchens is back. What's Jaden Harris's elevated role going to be? He's been starting anyway.
They could drop James Williams down into the box more and play Jaden Harris at safety.
Yeah, that's true. But he's, James Williams has been in the box 60% of the time already, but whatever. Anyway, my point is
such a negative Nancy. I'm trying to
sit here and present. It's just a fact. That's not negative, it's a fact.
Well, if you want to get Jaden Harris on the field more, you use James Williams more in the box where he's more effective anyway.
Well, they've been doing that. They've been doing that before Cam was hurt. Anyway, look, they just
maybe
have more
they
confidence.
Make it 70%. I don't know.
They have more confidence.
Tell you, man. I just know Jaden Harris has been practicing well. They like him.
Yeah, they have more confidence in Jaden Harris for sure.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is, I asked Mario. I said, look, you mentioned in your opening statement that 8 players are going to play more. Like, I said, so A, tell us who they are if you feel like it, which maybe you don't. And then B, if you don't want to answer part A, just tell us, how much that might impact the team and the depth, et cetera, et cetera. And he actually wound up being nice enough to answer part A, which I was shocked about because he hates to name players or individuals or anything. I think he was just throwing us a bone, as Randy Shannon used to say. And then the part B is he said their depth is still not anywhere near where it needs to be. He keeps saying they need 2 more recruiting classes, which I keep saying. They're 2 years away from a championship. type situation. I think next year 10 wins, 2 years playoffs, maybe a championship 2 to 3 years. But he agrees with Matt Shodell, so there's that to be said. And since I mentioned Randy Shannon, who I love dearly, he always had a thing with the media. He hated the media. He didn't want to do interviews. Nobody does. And so he used to do a thing where he knew we wanted to know about injuries. No coach ever wants to talk about injuries, but he knew we wanted to know about it. And he would literally be asked about an injury in a post-practice, whatever. And he'd say, I'll tell you if I don't have to talk to you tomorrow, because he was scheduled. Back in those days, they had the head coaches talk 3 days a week. And so as a media group, we had to tell Randy, okay, tell us if he's going to play or not, and then you don't have to talk to us at all tomorrow, or the rest of the week or whatever it was, And so Randy would be, and then we'd be like, okay, Randy, fine, tell us the injury. And he'd be like, okay, I'll throw you a bone, and then he tells us the injury, and then we don't see him the rest of the week. That was a real thing that actually happened, back when Randy Shannon was the head coach. And now Mario, initially Mario was supposed to, I think last year he spoke to us twice a week in game weeks. Now he's talking to us once a week. We're still getting enough information. We're hearing things now that we can't report, more so than before. There's always been stuff we can't report that we know. Now that's even more so that you can't report that it just gets to the point where it's super annoying. And it's nothing major. If it was major news that we felt, had to be reported, some things you just have to report. He just
gets really upset if we say too much about injury.
Yeah, but some things as a journalist, you find out, if somebody tells you something off the record, you can't use it. But there are some things you hear on the record from somebody else, could be secondhand source, whatever it is, that as a journalist, if it's major news, you have to report it. It's just your job.
Like when Tyler Van Dyke got hurt before
that was one that we had heard, some stuff, and then we got it on the record, whatever. But yeah, things like that. But there's other things. Like it's so weird being a journalist covering this team for so long, because you saw where it went from and where it came to. Where it used to be open locker room, and they prided themselves on that. They used to pride themselves on being the most available team to the media in the country. And that was when they were winning championships, competing for championships, and everything was hunky-dory and great. So, of course, let's spread the word to the nation about how, we got all this swagger and, how great we are. Let everybody talk to the players and do all the interviews they want. But then, once they started not doing so well, I remember Paul D shutting down the locker room because, after the Washington game and the Kellen Winslow thing. And then it never
his face returned beet red.
Yeah, he literally was guarding. He was guarding the locker room door because he thought the media would try to go in even after he told them not to go in. Remember that? He literally stood there with his arms out to make sure nobody went in that locker room the whole time. And they brought out like 2 players. But yeah, it's to me, it's a shame because I always liked it for the fans, not for myself. People think the media just want it for themselves. Like, no, we want to write really great stories about individuals and about games and about players. And it's just a shame it's come to what it's come to, which now is you get these canned interviews with the head coach once a week, coordinators once a week, few players a week, and then we have to go based off what we hear. And I've basically become a film analyst now. I used to be a reporter, now I'm a film analyst. I'm a color commentary person now. That's what Mario's turned me into.
When you go in the lab, man. You always come out with some good stuff, we got to put you to work, otherwise you're hanging out at weed farms. We got to keep you. We got to keep.
I also played pickleball for the first time. Bye weeks are pretty good. You can get a lot of stuff done. Pickleball, by the way, apparently you're not allowed to go in the kitchen. If you know what the kitchen is. Have you played pickleball?
I have. Yeah.
Yes, I made a.
What do you think of pickleball? You like it?
I don't know if I can say that. If I should say this, I probably shouldn't say this on the show. But I was playing. We were playing like doubles, and I was playing against my wife. And my wife had a winner, but she was in the kitchen. And and I said something along the lines of, this is why women belong in the kitchen or something like that. I don't think it went over very well. I probably shouldn't have shared it publicly, but what do I care? I'm too old to care.
People are obsessed with
I'm gonna be in big trouble now. But
people are obsessed with pickleball. It's the hottest thing all over the country. Everyone's playing pickleball. So I've never seen a game catch on like this game so quickly. Communities are building pickleball courts. Health clubs are building pickleball courts. It's like pickleball is huge in this country now. It just goes to show you, man, you create something that hits people the right way, it could really go viral.
They're turning my tennis courts in my Coconut Grove community literally into pickleball courts. It's a big fight.
Well, that's what they did. They did that by my house too. They took actual tennis courts and converted them. They took 2 tennis courts and converted them into 4 pickleball courts.
And by the way, this summer I spent, I grew up on on Long Island, but I would spend my summers. My grandfather lived on Fire Island, Ocean Beach, Fire Island. So I spent a week this summer out there. And actually, one of my friends growing up was Elisa Pugliese. Now she's Elle Key. She's married to Keegan Michael Key. So we hung out with them quite a bit while we were up there. And Keegan and Elle had these friends who were in this community up there on Fire Island. And they were having a big battle in this little community because they wanted to put pickleball courts in. But every person who had a house near where the pickleball courts were proposed to be were like having a fit because they make so much noise. They do. You know? And so the people who were near the pickleball court said, well, if you're putting a pickleball court, then we're going to put a basketball court near your house. Or, they were going to make these other proposals. So they had to bounce the whole pickleball thing. But some people love pickleball, some people hate it, and some people just don't want it anywhere near them. It just depends on who you are, I guess. But I don't love pickleball. I don't want pickleball courts. I want tennis courts. That's where I stand on the political spectrum.
Playing doubles is cool, but you try to play singles pickleball, that'll wear you out real quick, man. That'll tire you out worse than tennis. Because tennis, you have more time between shots. Pickleball is more rapid fire. And if you're trying to play singles,
which wears you out more?
Huh?
Pickleball wears you out more than tennis?
Pickleball singles can wear you out more than tennis singles.
I don't know your style of play in tennis, but it's probably really limited. Because
I don't know, man. I'm just telling you. No, it's rapid.
Tennis is a bigger court. Just logically, tennis is a bigger court.
I understand, but
no, you don't.
There's more time between shots.
Not when you hit winners, Ferman.
It's hard to hit winners in pickleball. You got.
You're one of those dinkers. You just dink everything. Dink.
I do. But you got to build confidence to really smack it.
Listen, I'm not a dinker. I'm a winner. All right, that's how I play. Every shot's a winner.
Let's get back to
you think Mario Cristobal would dink and dunk his stupid shots? He's going for winners every time.
Yeah.
Period. I'm Mario Cristobal.
Pickleball court. I don't know if that game would be good for Mario. I would recommend
Mario has no time for pickleball.
No, he
doesn't know what it is.
No. All right. We got a few more things we'll talk about today, but first, guys, I want to take a moment and talk about GameTime.co. If you have not checked them out yet this season, we've been talking about them for several weeks now. Make sure you go and check out GameTime.co, not .com, .co, or just download their app. And it just makes buying tickets for sporting events, theater, concerts, wherever you want to go that they're selling tickets. GameTime.co makes this such a seamless experience because they, show you the actual view from your seats. They guarantee you the best prices. If you find the ticket in the same row, same section for less than what you pay with Game Time, they will give you 110% guarantee. They have flash sales, which makes it kind of fun to get tickets late. The bottom line is that you should not have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. And Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy those tickets for all sports, music, comedy, theater events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. With their killer last-minute deals, their all-in prices, the views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. They take all the guesswork out of buying your tickets. They just make it so easy. And the reason why this company exists is that the founder was trying to go to a Major League Baseball playoff game once, and he bought some tickets from somewhere, and he had to go down to his basement and try to print them out, and nothing worked right. And he almost didn't make it to the game in time. And he said, that's it. I'm doing something about this. And he created Game Time, which is the only ticketing app that gives you just absolutely complete peace of mind. So download their app, Game Time, obviously in your app store. That's the easiest way I find to use Game Time. Or you can go to their website, gametime.co, and check them out for your next ticket purchase. And if you use the code CANES, CANES, they will give you 20% off your first ticket purchase. So use that coupon code CANES. They will give you 20% off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Make sure you read the fine print, but nothing too crazy. So GameTime.co, make Game Time your headquarters for all your ticket purchases to all your events. You will not be sorry that you did so. All right, so we got to spend, that Matt mentioned a little earlier, spent some time with the coordinators yesterday, and get updates on how the team is doing or whatever. And Matt, I think that Shannon Dawson, would have to be described as being pretty upbeat over the way things are going on offense. Mario told us that Citizen might be back. Even Zion Nelson is making progress and might make an appearance this season, which would certainly help the offensive line depth along with the development of Ryan Rodriguez. I got to tell you something. The Ryan Rodriguez thing is one of my biggest surprises so far this season, Matt. I didn't think he ever was going to make it to this point where he was contributing to this team, but they need a backup center bad. Luke Cristobal is a little, he's in there battling, man. That guy's a battler, but probably need some additional help. They found out when Matt Lee went down in the Temple game, how quickly that can change things. So they're working hard at developing these guys at center, and Ryan Rodriguez has been doing a nice job getting a lot of accolades from the coaches. But Matt, Shannon Dawson, just in general, and with justifiable reason, just seems really, really, really thrilled with the way things are going on offense.
You got to take the getting a lot of accolades out of your vocabulary, because these coaches never say bad things about anybody ever. If Ryan Rodriguez is the starting center the rest of the year, I'm not happy.
If you were recruiting, obviously you might be shooting for more upper tier prospects.
The starting 5/6 with Matt McCoy, love every one of them. They have been outstanding, but there's no offensive line depth. Let's not. Zion Nelson is not the same guy he was 2 years ago. They can talk about all they want. Javonte Citizen is not. If he comes back, he's not going to look like the same guy he was even in high school. Like, I'm sorry, like that's just
not this year. He won't. No,
that's the stuff I've been hearing. So it is what it is. I'm not going to start saying, oh, the coaches said he's doing great, so he's doing great. Like, no, I mean, I've watched Ryan Rodriguez. He doesn't look great. He looks okay. Which I guess for Gary means he's better than he was last year when he was bad. Okay, it's not good enough for Matt Shodell. It's good enough for Gary Ferman, apparently.
Luke
Cristobal, I'm not going to hammer on him because he's a great guy.
Everybody's not going to be an All-American. Like, you need depth. This team needs some depth, okay? And just being able to feel somewhat okay about if Matt Lee goes down again and turns an ankle, that you could put somebody functional out there. I mean, in a real game. I mean, listen, maybe they're blowing smoke up our butts, but they did seem genuinely happy at the way that Ryan Rodriguez has been coming along.
Mario Cristobal is really happy if a guy works excruciatingly hard. The guy can suck. If he works his ass off, if he leads by example in the weight room, if he does everything the way you're supposed to, he will praise you. He will praise you. And you know what? You'll earn some garbage time reps, even if you're not a great player. But this team, make no mistake about it, you can say that Ryan Rodriguez is fine. A whole offensive line backups are fine. There's 4 great running backs. The receiver backups are great. Emory Williams is the next coming of whatever. The tight ends have so much depth with Elijah Arroyo back. The defensive linemen, look at Thomas Gore and all the other guys who are backups who are so great. Jared Harrison Hunt. The linebackers are so upgraded, right? The DBs, we have the best safeties in the country. Like, every position, according to you, has extremely great depth, extremely great talent. And Mario Cristobal disagrees with you, Gary. Mario Cristobal says this team doesn't have the depth it needs, nowhere close to it. And not only will it take more than 1 recruiting class, it'll take 2. So you tell me where the disconnect is between you hearing Mario tell you that everything's great with the backups versus him literally telling us that it's going to take 2 more recruiting classes before we have anywhere near the depth we need.
You can make the same point with just a shade more sensitivity, okay?
Ryan Rodriguez of sensibility or sensitivity.
Ryan Rodriguez is undersized, okay? I never thought that he would make it to this point. Quite honestly, I'm just like you. I keep it real. The fact that he just can be mentioned by his coaches in a positive vein, to me, is progress. I agree with you. I don't believe they have a lot of offensive line depth. I think they have 6 guys.
Don't lie to the people watching the show.
I said the whole year they have 6 guys. Okay, Zion might hopefully become a 7th, and maybe Ryan becomes an 8th that they feel comfortable putting on the field. Samson Okinola would be a 9th if he gets there. But he has looked a little overmatched when he's been out there so far this year. It's an adjustment for him. He did not play a very high level of high school football, so it might take him a year to really, he's got the physicality, he's got the body, but it might take him till next year before he's really at that point in his development. But listen, I give Ryan Rodriguez credit for getting to this point. I never thought he would. That's all. I'm not trying to say he's going to be an All-American. I'm not trying to say that the O-line would be better off if he had to go in the game. It would not.
You're making me sound mean because of I'm just trying to keep it real.
You're mean.
I'm just trying to keep it real. There's a difference between reality and being mean.
Get the real. No, you're feeding you're feeding raw meat to your fan base. I know what you're doing. But let me tell you something. You're not keeping it real. You are being cold. You're like being cold as ice. I'm going to start calling you Matt Ice Bucket Shodell. That's what I'm going to do.
What?
Because, man, there's human beings on the other side of these words of yours, okay? Ryan Rodriguez has worked his butt off to get to this point. Like, he was not even on the radar at the beginning of the season. Let's be honest. I mean, he just flat was not even on the radar.
If you're gonna call me Ice Bucket Shodell, you know what I'm gonna call you? There's actually a Girl Scout cookies weed strain that I found out about on my sojourn on the weed farm. You're gonna be the Girl Scout. I can't say it. You're the Girl Scout strain Ferman man. Girl Scout strain Ferman. That's your new name. Okay, if I'm gonna be Ice Bucket Shodell, because everything with you is Girl Scout cookies. Give a cookie to him. Give a cookie to her.
You're taking shots at Ryan Rodriguez. You're taking shots at Luke Cristobal.
It's not taking shots when it's just.
Listen, I mean, these are good kids. They do the right things. They work their butts off.
They all do. They all do.
Neither one of them is a top shelf.
Do you really just want to sit
major college offensive lineman? Neither one.
Want to sit here and talk about how great the roster is all day long? Or
no, it's not. And Mario admits that. But these two, they're not top shelf offensive line prospects. No argument. But they are good young kids that are working their butts off.
Every kid on the team is.
No, I don't believe that. There's no way.
Let me tell you.
All 85 scholarship kids are all working their butt off.
Let me tell you something.
I like culture, but I don't know it's that good.
The reason why, in my opinion, it's not the whole reason. Part of the reason why the team was so bad last year is Mario Cristobal wanted to find out who would fail and get rid of them. And he did that. You saw a mass exodus during last season and after last season because Mario pushed past the limit mentally and physically of what a normal human being can take. And those guys all departed. So that's why I'm saying this year, the guys who are left that battled last year through that horrible season and survived the Mario Cristobal indoctrination, I don't know what you call it. The ones that survived, they're the strong. They're the mentally strong. There's nobody on this team right now that I would say is mentally weak or not trying their hardest or not putting an effort. Because if they were, they would be cast out. Okay, they would be cast out in a nanosecond. So all 85 scholarship players, all 115 total team players, the whole team is really hardworking players. My whole thing on this show, and I don't treat them as college student athletes anymore.
But let me rephrase what I said to them. Maybe the whole team is hardworking, but the whole team is not a player that just physically does not match up to this level of football, that probably should not have been offered a scholarship at this level of football, but they will themselves into playing time. How's that? Is that better?
Well, I wasn't even talking about that anymore. But to me, the reason why I feel like I'm able to criticize maybe more than maybe a couple of years ago is because every one of these players now is a professional. They're no longer college student athletes. Every one of them is getting paid. The definition of a professional player, a professional athlete, is you're paid to play a sport. So I don't treat them, people might say out there in YouTube verse, why is Matt so mean to these young kids who are young, I don't know, I can't say kids, young men who are just trying their hardest to get by in life. And it's because I view it through a different lens now. I view them all as professional athletes who are being paid to perform. And if they're not going to perform enough, then I'm going to give you criticism, and guess what? Shannon Dawson told me I can go ahead and do that. He said he tells the players, there's people out there who are going to praise you when you do well, but they're the first ones to criticize you when you do badly. And I assume he was talking about me, but he probably was just talking about social media.
I'm sure he wakes up every
so listen,
morning.
it's okay. Just like you can criticize an NFL player, and some of these Miami players are a year out from being professional players, and they'll probably get paid less, some of them in the NFL, than they got paid in college or in the CFL or wherever they wind up. Probably not so much in the NFL, but in the CFL or wherever the AF Arena Football League, whatever. But you have to at some point just tell the truth about, like, some of these players are really, really looking great. And then some of these depth guys that Mario keeps insisting or showing they can step up, based on thudding with third teamers and second teamers most of the past 10 days. Somehow these guys thudding against each other have
He's trying to coach the football team so that it doesn't have a letdown against Georgia Tech.
I was about to start yelling and giving my whole
break.
You just ruined the end of my whole diatribe. I was going to start yelling and ranting and raving. So I'm done with that. Go ahead. What's the next subject?
What if I said to you, hey, Matt, looks like Jay Allen will be back Saturday night. Would that make you feel good?
AJ Allen? Yeah, he should have played. He could have played last week. He didn't.
But would that make you feel happy? What if I told you Ray Joseph and Christopher Johnson could be getting some more reps because they're doing well in practice?
Well, Shannon Dawson made a good point. They're not going to get more reps if the offense keeps playing 65 plays a game. The starting three receivers are exceptionally productive right now. There's no reason you take them off the field, except if you play a lot of reps in a game, and Shannon Dawson literally said, there's teams out there playing 80, even 90 reps a game. We're playing 65 because we're being very efficient. And he said if we have 30 more reps per game, those guys already would have been playing more reps. It's not that, they're so much better now that they're going to be playing reps and taking away reps from Xavier Restrepo, and they're going to be taking away reps from Colby Young and taking away reps from Jacoby George. Like, that's not the case. It would make no sense to do that. But when you're playing 85 reps, 80 reps, which will happen against the North Carolinas and some of these shootouts, and some of these other teams, that's when you've got to get your Colby Young a little bit of rest here and there, your Xavier Restrepo a little bit of rest here and there. And that's when you're going to see Ray play 15, 20 reps. You might see, Christopher Johnson get his 5 or 10 reps, in certain situations and things like that where they're comfortable with the plays, because those guys do have exceptional ability and there's no reason they can't be in there. But remember, the guys that are replacing are more experienced and are probably more reliable options for Shannon Dawson right now. So, let's not sugarcoat it. Ray Joseph's not going to start over somebody. Christopher Johnson's not going to be.
I've been kind of surprised he has not been playing very much this year. Ray, one of my biggest surprises.
Very surprised about that. Let me tell you, we can't report about stuff at the time that we saw in the fall. But when I tell you Ray was working with the ones and was doing stuff like in the backfield, that like running, taking handoffs and lining up all over the place, and they never did it. So we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
But that's why I was saying I think he's going to lead the team in receiving yards or in whatever, be a highly productive guy.
He's going to have a huge season this year.
They just all of us. Something happened that last week of fall camp. Something happened with Ray where either he clearly didn't understand what he was supposed to do. Something happened. I still don't quite know what it was because I haven't figured it out or been told it. But something happened because until that last week of fall camp, I mean, he was going to not just probably start. He really was going to probably start, but certainly at least play a lot of reps. And it just vanished, poof, into thin air. And I'm trying to figure out what happened.
And when he's out there, you could see that he's got that type of potential. I mean,
he literally was with the starters a week before the season, and then
I think Restrepo, you can't take him off the field. I mean, he just makes constant plays. I mean,
maybe it was Restrepo just stepping up more the last week. I don't know what it was, but
I mean, how do you take him off the field when you mix in his chemistry with Van Dyke? I almost think Tyler needs to throw to Restrepo, maybe not quite as much.
Yeah, you know what? It might have been Tyler. Who knows what happened? If I had to guess, and this is just a guess, I didn't hear this. I'm just guessing. If I had to guess, Tyler went up to Shannon Dawson and said Xavier needs to be on the field all the time, something like that. Because I'm sure Xavier went up to Tyler.
It's just I don't know how you.
I guarantee you, Xavier was not happy when Ray was starting in the slot and getting a lot of reps in the slot. And I guarantee you that Xavier being Tyler's roommate and those two having that great connection, I can't imagine it didn't have a little something to do with Xavier basically playing every single rep of every single game. But, that's just me
he's just
speculating.
So he's so steady, and he just keeps making play.
He's been great. He's been out. Xavier, in practice, he tries so hard and he dives for everything. He gives all out effort. But he's not the biggest, fastest, strongest. Ray has a lot of physical ability that Xavier does not. And if you're a coach, you're taking Ray Ray over Xavier every day of the week just because he's got the breakaway ability. But what you discount is just Xavier's crazy amount of competitiveness and Xavier's ability to get open really fast. Like Xavier is probably getting open the fastest of all the, I don't see his stats list, but he's getting open the fastest of all the receivers. I mean, if you count 1, 2, 3, like he's open in those 3 seconds, the other guys may not be. And that's something that you can't coach, teach, whatever the word is. Like that's just, he can read a defender so well, and he's so smart, and he lays down in space, and he and Tyler have that connection where Tyler knows where he's going to be, knows how to get him the ball and when to get him the ball and where to get him the ball against each kind of defense. And that's something that Tyler and Ray Ray do not have that connection. I mean, there's no doubt that Xavier should be playing every single rep over Ray Ray, even though Ray Ray is a better athlete, just because of that.
Yeah, and then Jacoby George is having a damn good season too. So
yeah. Well, we did see that coming to some extent. Well, I did.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So it's not working out exactly the way it looked like it was going to for Ray Ray, but maybe we'll see a little bit more of him now. We'll see. Supposedly he's doing well in practice, and Christopher Johnson's another one that's looked very good when he's been put into the game. So maybe he'll get some more reps as well. All right. We also have a couple recruiting stories that'll be on the website today on a couple 2025 4-star edge rushers, Justin Hill and Brandon Brown. So make sure you check those out as well today. Couple program notes. There will not be a CaneSport live show this week because there was no game, but there will be a Lamar Thomas show on Wednesday night. One of the guests will be Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich. So put that one on your schedule for Wednesday night, the Lamar Thomas show. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, tomorrow. But that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us and putting up with negative Nancy Shodell here.
I was a little negative today.
Cold-hearted.
I'm back in my preseason form.
Ice bucket Shodell. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every day, allow me to buy some extra buckets of ice to dump on top of Matt. So please go to CaneSport.com, get your subscriptions in today. If you're not yet a subscriber to our site, and join our community of fans. We do not think you will be sorry. If you're on YouTube right now, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It'll help us with the algorithms there. Beyond that, have a great day. Thank you again for being part of the show, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.